Hey guys, I am going to try something and we're going to see how this works. It's based on something that my husband does. So when we have pancakes at the house, my husband likes to use club soda instead of milk or water to make his pancakes because it makes them light and fluffy and happy. I am going to try and do this with the chocolate chip cookie and see if it makes it light and fluffy or if it completely screws it up. So we're going to find out how this works, whether it works, and we'll go from there. Cross your fingers. The first thing I'm going to do is actually a hack to the preparation, I guess, that is something I've been doing since about day 4 with all of the cakes and such. So anything that has chunks in it. If you look at the photos and videos or the photos on the Optavia website, the cookie looks like you can see the chocolate chips, the Indonesian cinnamon cream cheese swirl cake looks like it has kind of like bumpiness and everything on the top. And I figured out that the best way to make my fuelings look just like the ones on the website was actually to sift out the chunkiness, like the chocolate chips, from the rest of the dough and to mix them in right before I cook them. That way I can make sure they're evenly distributed across the entire fueling and I don't end up with a huge chunk that is that doesn't have that topping or those nuts or whatever that mixture happens to be. So I'm going to take my Chewy chocolate chip cookie and I'm going to actually put it through my sifter. You can also do this with a sieve, works just fine. If I could find my sieve, I would probably use my sieve instead. But you want to get one that has holes that are pretty fine so that they're not going to get stuck. And the only thing you're going to have left in this case is the chocolate chips. So let's get that done. So I'm not actually going to be breaking this up the way I would cake flour, so I don't need to like super spin it or anything. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually crank it back and forth to allow the powder to get pushed through the sieve more easily. I'll video that from the top. So as you can see, some of my stuff has not been put through the sieve yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the handle over here and I'm just going to move it back and forth. I'm not going to crank it all the way around because if I crank it all the way around, it's going to make the fueling fly and it's going to fall out of the bowl. So we're just going to move it back and forth, like so. It is a bit hard to hold it and turn at the same time. Let's see if I do it this way. Oh, there we go. That's easier. So I'm just moving it back and forth. If I didn't have the camera in my hand, this would go very fast. There we go. So as you can see, there's actually a lot of chocolate chips in the chocolate chip cookie. So when I take away the sieve, you see that the cookie batter is the only thing left. And because this sieve was sitting partly on top of it, it has a little bit of the pattern on the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a hole in the middle, which probably does absolutely nothing, but it is something that I learned from my mother. So the hole is where I'm going to pour the 2 tablespoons of, in this case, club soda. Let's see how this mixes. Oh, it's foaming. All right, unlike with the other fillings, you only do 2. So let's stir this up and see what happens. Well, the batter is forming, so that's a good sign. Now that it's mostly done, I'm going to take the chocolate chips. I'm going to fold them in now. And by doing that, I'm going to end up picking up the rest of that. Now, an interesting thing, and I hadn't thought about this before I started making them, but because this is not actually cookie dough, there's no raw eggs sitting here, there's no reason you cannot eat this as cookie dough. My health coach actually told me he eats these raw, and I'm totally cool with that, but I like my stuff warm and gooey gooey, so I'm going to press it out here. The one thing I've noticed about this particular fueling is that it can get kind of sticky and not want to work, not want to come off your fork or your spoon. That is actually why I am using a fork, because it's easier to get it off the fork than it is a spoon. For me anyway. All right. So I'm going to take the little bit of extra dough and I'm going to eat it just like this off my fork. All right, it just tastes like cookie dough. Let's cook it. I don't know how well you can tell, but this is actually pretty fluffy. It has almost completely filled the ramekin, if you can see this. It's just a little bit below it, but it's pretty full, which is not usually the case for the cookie. So now granted, I'm actually using one of the round ramekins instead of the square ones, so that may be part of that. But you can definitely see the holes where the club soda carbonated it. And it looks really good. I mean, we'll bite into it after it has set for about 3 to 5 minutes as directed. Do not skip the wait time. If I have learned one thing, it is that the wait time does make a difference for these fuelings. They do take time to develop and to set. So that is what we're gonna do, and I'll see you in about 3 minutes. Okay guys, it has been about 3.5 minutes and it is pretty much set now. If you're noticing, I'm touching it and it's not giving much. It's not hard, but it's about the consistency of a chewy cookie. To get this out, you can eat it straight from this, which is perfectly fine, but I find that if you expand the ramekin a little bit on the sides, it will come away much easier. There we go. And you should be able to just, of course now it won't do it for us. There we go. Should be able to just pop it out. So if you notice, this thing looks like a little cake now, but you can see that because we put all of the chocolate chips in at the end and folded them in. They haven't clumped together. They're all spread out throughout the whole thing. And it is definitely ready for us to eat. So I am going to chow down on this and see how it works. Okay, let's give this a try. I do like it better with the club soda. It made it a lot fluffier and a lot less dense. There's a lot of air in it. Can y'all see that? Look how much air is in there. So it fluffed up really well. The middle has kind of collapsed a little bit, but just from its setting. But it is a lot, it's a really pleasing texture. It's a lot like just a chewy cookie, or it's a little bit thicker than I would say a cake, but it's really good. And it's even kind of flaky on the top. So that's a happiness. So I'm going to give this a try and, not give it a try, I bit out of it already. I'm going to chow down on this and enjoy my dessert. You guys have a great evening. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead and do so. This was the, this was the Optavia Chewy chocolate chip cookie. Fueling, and it is one of my favorites. So have at. Subscribe. Thanks.